Okay, now let me do another example. Here we are given that fx equals the square root of x and gx equals the square root of x minus phi. And we're looking for these four functions and their domains. So first, we are going to determine the domain of these two given functions. So in the previous studies, we have seen that how to determine the domain of a square root function. The domain of the square root function should be every numbers that will make the inside to be non-negative. In other words, when you are looking at the function square root of x and want to find the domain is any number greater than or equal to 0. Because any number greater than or equal to 0 will not make this be negative. Now for the second function, the square root of x minus phi. So to find out the domain of this function, we need to think about which numbers will make x minus phi to be greater than or equal to 0. And the answer to this question is to find the answer of this question is equivalent to solve for this inequality. So if we solve this inequality, the answer will be any number greater than or equal to 5. So any number greater than or equal to 5, since they will make x minus phi to be non-negative. So the domain of the second function will be like this. Okay. And if we use interval notation to write them, the first domain is from 0 to infinity, where I use a bracket next to 0 because x can be equal to 0. And the domain of the second function is from 5 to infinity. And also I use a bracket next to 5. Okay, so now let's start looking for these combinations. Now f plus g is equal to the square root of x plus the square root of x minus phi. And that's it, because there's no way we can simplify. And now let's take a look at the domain, because the domain has to be the intersection of these two. And in the section of inequality, we started how to find the intersections of two inequalities. So the first one, from 0 to infinity, the graph looks like this. And for the second domain, from 5 to infinity, the graph looks like this. And we said if we're looking for the intersection, what we found is the area where these two graphs overlap, right? And from this picture, we can see that the graphs where the graphs overlap is from 5 to infinity. So the intersection is from 5 to infinity. So therefore, the domain is from 5 to infinity. So the domain of this sum is from 5 to infinity.